I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jesse.
We're Cannabis School. Having cannabis-infused conversations
with everyday people,
cannabis companies,
celebrities,
and your mom.
Welcome to the sesh.
Said ungentlemanly warfare. I don't understand why Curtis doesn't have it on Plex. It's fucking good. It's a real story of how Britain got the U.S. into World War II. And it was this small team because they were really freaked out because Germany was bombing the shit out of England. And when they were doing it in the Blitzkriegs, Adolf Hitler had extended a truce if they surrender and give their land to him. And most of the parliament was ready to do it. Except Winston Churchill. He's like, I will not have that. We'll fight to the end. And they were like, oh. And so he went to a guy who was a military general and he says, hey, we need to stop their U-boats. And he's like, okay. And he's like, so I need you to put together a team that's going to go do that. And they have to be willing to die, and we can't acknowledge them. This is like the very first clandestine operation. And so they pull this guy out of prison, who was a major, who just didn't get along with other people. Like, he was in prison for insubordination. And they pull him out because he's crazy. He puts this small team together of real people and a 5-man team with two spies that were embedded with the Germans in this island that were housing this one U-boat. And their mission is to go in there and blow it up to stop all the supplies to other U-boats, because that's what was helping Germany win the war. And the U.S. wouldn't join the war. So Churchill wanted to say, hey, U.S., look what we did. We destroyed that. We need your help, because they needed our help bad. And this small team went in there and did it. And they did way more than they thought. But the way they talk about their team, like, dude, they took down an entire base with 4 dudes.
That's crazy.
With tons of Germans.
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie directed it. He does a lot of really good action movies and a lot of like thoughtful pieces. Henry Cavill's in it, and he's the main guy. He's Superman.
Like, which
did you see Superman?
I saw one Superman when I was little, and that's the only one I've seen.
What's the other?
It's been probably 20 plus years.
Oh, really? Dude, you should watch the newer one. It's pretty cool. It's got Kevin Costner. He played Geralt in the Witcher series.
Okay. Yeah.
So that guy, he's in it, and he is awesome. He plays a good, like, he's got like this curly mustache and a beard, and it's like bushy, but he just...
And he's Superman?
Yeah, he's Superman.
With that big bushy beard? And
No. He cut it all off.
I was like, I feel like Superman's usually a very clean cut look.
Oh, yeah, no, this was back in the day. Like, this is a fairly new movie, and it has that guy. Did you ever see Reacher?
I swear I did.
On Amazon?
Sounds incredibly familiar.
It's based after a book series by a guy named Lee Child. And they did like a whole thing with Tom Cruise as Jack Reacher. It didn't go very well because Tom Cruise is 5'4", and Jack Reacher in the books is 6'5".
Yeah.
So
it's hard to do camera angles from down low to make him look tall around everyone.
Well, yeah, I mean, with him, you got to put him on soap. Like, I tell you that when we did a movie, we put these soapboxes on this dude. He was like super buff. But we needed a really big guy to face our main character.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find one.
So you had to put him on soapboxes to
we
make him taller.
literally we zip tied these 2 milk crates together and then stood him on top of that.
That's hilarious.
That's how he had to look like really tall.
Yeah.
But he was like way short, which was so funny because we had to make him look big.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's the fuck was I talking about?
Reacher because of short.
Oh yeah, that guy, dude. He's 6'3" and he's big as fuck. And it like the first season's really good, but he's in that, and plays this character. All of them hate German Nazis, and this one guy, he is so like, and this is World War II, and it's also like older. It's not like the Americans. The Americans were really dependent upon how they fought because it was new for them. Right? They had old wars, but it's all contained in one place. Very young nation. You got people who have been doing crazy shit passed down for many generations.
Yeah, America was a baby.
Yeah. So this guy he hunted Nazis with his bow.
What the fuck?
And he scalped them.
Like a compound bow or like an old recurve?
Not even a recurve. One of those old...
Like a horse bow, kind of like what I have.
No, a little longer though, like a full size...
Yeah.
And he just...
Because mine's a Turkish horse bow, so it's meant to be on horseback. It's a very short, Like it's specifically designed that way. But his was like the longer ones than just not.
Yeah, he wore like this in the movie. It's cool, but like it's just a fun movie. But the cool part is like towards the end they talk about all the people and they show pictures of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like the main guy, he was just like he was always a badass and he was always taking things. He goes like he was like they got him in there. He's got handcuffs in, and he's just wandering around the room and they're talking to him. And he opens up this cigar box and he goes, and they're like. The main guy's like, so he just starts taking a bunch and putting them in his pocket and puts one in his mouth and then picks up this thing of cigarettes. And then he's got this officer who's there who plays a real guy that had to intervene between all these generals and Churchill because Churchill was sanctioning a private mission. And they told him, if you guys get caught, you're going to prison.
Yeah.
If you get caught by the Germans, torture and death.
Yeah.
And all of them were like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Like, they were just crazy.
Well, weren't they already in prison, it sounded like, anyway?
No. Just the main guy. All the other guys were just, they were all
crazy
dudes.
people that would follow him.
Yeah, they would do whatever.
Huh.
An explosive dude, a guy who had the bow, who was like, hated Nazis, killed him with his bare hands because they killed his brother. Like, every single one of them, their family had been, German Nazis had killed their family. And I thought about that. Like, you know, when you have those wars today, like, Americans are pretty fierce. If you hurt us, we'll go crazy on you. But you think about all those people in war that are fighting against what others may seem as they're helping, but they can be seen as oppressors. And every time those soldiers, like you hear all these stories talking about these guys that go and were in the Afghan-Iraq war, and every person that they would kill and they had kids, they're like, great, I just created another guy who's going to hate me.
Yep. Every American is this person who killed my parent, killed my brother, killed my
in
sister,
those areas.
killed my, whatever.
But the funny thing is that it's like it's a love-hate relationship. Like my brother had told me, like when he was down there in Baghdad and in Ramadi, there was places you could go where it would be a crazy firefight. Like there's just places they avoided.
Oh yeah.
And then there was other places, he's like, you could walk naked down the street with an American flag wrapped around you and nobody would fucking look at you. He's like, they were either terrified of you or they liked you. And he goes, there was a lot of people that liked us. But he's like, I know that there's a lot of people that absolutely hate us. And I was like, yeah, dude, but that's kind of how an occupation works.
Well, and it's the hardest part is that, most of those people that are there occupying aren't the ones making those decisions that put them there in the first place.
No.
And so it sucks because they're the ones just following orders. And the ones who make those orders are the ones back here.
Well, I mean, they'll go out and they'll do it and they're based on that. But it's just war. It's just war. And it's not great, but you know what? It's a constant. I mean, it's just a constant. And, it's nice right now is that we're not really involved in any, like we don't have mass amounts of troops being sent over there to anywhere. Like, when people say like the soldiers are going out to defend freedom. Oh yeah. When soldiers are going out to defend freedom, I don't think all of them feel that way.
Of course not.
Oh, where do you want me to put the grounds? Oh, you got it right over there. Yeah, they don't feel that. I mean,
well, because what war in the past truly has been that most of them come out later that it was like, oh, it was actually for this, So I'm sure a lot of people that go out there, some probably feel great, and then a lot of others go, what the hell were we even doing?
Well, we haven't had a crazy dictator try to take over the world. Hitler was the last one we saw like that. Like you could say like, oh no, all these other really bad people. No, they're really bad people out there. Don't get twisted. But not on that scale. Not on that scale. And it's not even the Hitler part. It was all these other people that were waiting for that same thing to happen. And they were like, this guy's getting the attention we want. We're going to do the same thing. And it just spiraled. Where the German, what was it there? All the guys who put Hitler in prison after World War I, like they were having a real difficult time. Like Germany was not doing well. And he came in and inspired them to be able to do more. And they did more. But it was all the other people below him that really made it even worse. Like Himmler and Werner von Braun.
There was a lot of horrible Nazis.
Oh, yeah, dude. And that's the thing. Like, it just kind of goes along with it. But we haven't seen something like that, where they're taking over mass amounts of countries and imprisoning certain people or just straight up killing them. Look, that was happening in Russia, and people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. During Clinton's time, during the Serbian wars, dude, they were mass executing Muslims.
Well, there's been lots of mass executions all over.
No, but
forever.
recently,
Well, even
like in Burma, they mass killed Africa.
same with Giza Strip recently. Like, there's all sorts of shit that, like, it's still a continuous thing.
What do you know about Giza?
All the bombings and stuff? What do you mean?
Like
I know
history of it and all that stuff?
I could not give you a definitive history of who's held it, when, and what, and what.
No, recent, like
But I do know
recent
that-
changes.
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I don't
Like-
know who holds it. I just know that there's been lots of horrendous murderings and bombings and killings all through there that just to me are the exact same. You know, mass murderings, mass killings, mass things. Because it was a lot of people in there. It was like children, families. It wasn't, those were the ones dying. A lot of it was like getting destroyed, and that was the ones who were suffering. So to me, that's the same as, you know, mass murders in hundreds of years ago or now. It's the same thing, you know, it's just maybe they weren't all lined up and shot or burned, but it's the same kind of stuff.
No, I'm just wondering. I mean, I'm a big history buff, and learning about that, like, it's crazy because these. Well, wait a minute. Where were we just talking about? Giza, dude. After World War II, did you know that's why the Jews went back to Israel, because they had nowhere to go?
Probably they were kicked out of
Yeah, they were kicked out of everywhere, or they didn't want to take the refugees, so they went down there. It's the same thing with Palestine. Palestine is not a real place. They're not a real people. They just settled. It was just a bunch of, well, it's like
You mean it's
Shiites,
not an originating country or that? It's just
or
kind of a
people.
collection of people that have.
like America.
Yeah, we're literally a mud hodgepodge mix of everyone.
And a lot of the Middle Eastern countries didn't want to take any people, right? But there was a war. It was like called the 3-Day War, and it was Israel. It was the people who were coming back to form Israel, Egypt. I think it was Iran and Palestine all fought against Israel, and Israel dominated against all those countries and their armies. They were completely outnumbered.
Oh yeah,
And they won.
That's a crazy story on that one, but
that's how it goes. It's the same
Yeah.
thing with America. Like people go, oh, like I heard some guy over there going, yeah, this used to be America. I mean, this used to be Mexico. It used to be. Parts of the U.S. were Mexico,
yes, parts
Mexico
of.
territory.
I was like, I've never heard of all of the United States being Mexico, but sections were definitely held by Mexico prior to
California, Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Utah.
Like
Whoa.
Idaho is part.
I believe so. I may be off, but they didn't
It's
come
been
into
so long. I
statehood
didn't
for a really
remember.
long time.
I remember California, even potentially Nevada, New Mexico, Texas. I didn't remember Utah or Idaho being part
Yep.
of that.
Utah was a Mexico territory. The majority of this area was owned by Spain.
Where they were a territory, does that mean that it was originally someone else's previously, and then it was taken over, and then it became
Yeah.
a Mexican territory? So whose was it before that? Because
The Aztecs and the Mayans.
so that's the thing is, it's like, oh, someone claims hold, but it was someone else's before that, and it was someone else's before that, and it was someone else's before that.
Right.
And it continues to shift and move, and, you know, it's kind of like Genghis Khan. How much did he take over and go, well, this is all this now? And, like, all of this shit, you know, Chinese empires, and, like, everyone has taken over or moved or changed borders and boundaries and lines, because it's like,
Yeah,
"Ooh,
people
we need
forget
more
that
of this."
England was like that. England
Oh,
took over a
100%.
lot of places
Yeah.
like India and Hong Kong.
Africa, South Africa,
Mhm.
like, all over.
And the French and the Dutch followed suit. So yeah,
Wait.
this has always happened.
Yeah, Napoleon. I was like, wait, the French have been able to take over?
Oh, yeah,
no,
dude.
Napoleon did tons. So
Well, a lot of things. Like I really got into the history of Napoleon a little bit ago, and it was pretty cool to kind of like go back through what was written, what they know about him, and they know a lot about him. But the thing about it, I mean, one, he wasn't French. He wasn't born French. He was actually, him and his family lived in an area that was getting occupied by France. So they were reluctant. His first language wasn't even French.
What was it supposed to be?
It was something
Where
with
did they
an
originate?
S and Italian. He spoke Italian and another language. But his people were conquered.
So they're Mediterranean area, probably.
Ish, yeah. But his people were conquered by the French, and so he grew up that way. He grew up going through schools. Nobody
I feel
liked
like
him.
Europe, their boundaries have been
Oh, it's always moved.
constantly shifting.
Oh yeah.
For so long. Even Berlin Wall coming down. That was just within our lifetime. There's been other
in the
countries
80s.
that have been changed names and,
Well, when
control, I guess.
oh my gosh, sorry about that. When the USSR collapsed, that's where we have all of these different sister states, and people go, "Oh no, these are countries," and Russia's attacking. Russia's trying to reclaim their territories. The USSR was massive, and it
Yeah,
was
but how long has that been?
the
Hundreds of
USSR.
years?
It's been since the 80s, since it collapsed.
That's it?
And then there was a lot of turmoil. They had another president. They had Gorbachev, who was in there when it started to go down. Then they had Yeltsin. And then Yeltsin, there was a lot of things like there was.
Yeltsin, begat, begat,
Well,
Yelmat,
dude, you could
Yelmat,
see
begat.
like there was a lot of like
Just
political.
the way you were saying it made like scripture shit pop. in my
I know,
head.
right?
Like, this is how it's going.
Well, especially with their names. I mean, it's so like, and Putin's been one of the longest running. Putin, and he's been one of the strongest. And it makes sense of who he is. He's ex-KGB. Like, this is ex-Special Forces CIA guy who is now running the country. He knows how to run the country from finance to war. But it's just the population. Like a lot of people, like some of the ideas that are floated around is that one of them is that he wants Ukraine and all the other territories because their population is pretty low. For the size of their country, Russia has a very low population and they're in population decline fast. And the reason why is they've had nonstop war. And they've shown
That would do it.
more war, less babies. We go throughout history. And that's why we did so well for so
maybe
long.
if they want to have more people, just stop going to war so much. Let people fuck for a bit.
Yeah, but if you take the last 100 years, we have been in nonstop wars, like nonstop.
Yep. Yeah.
I was talking to Steph about that, and I'm like, she goes, "Have we ever been in peace since you've been alive?" And I'm like, "Wait,
Define peace.
no. I mean, like,
She means
not
globally?
where we are in a military theater. Like, we actually have boots on the ground, lots of people, and there's fighting going on. And
As far as globally or just the U.S.?
well, the U.S. has always
That's
been
what I was-
involved since World War II. Like, it's been nonstop. It was
Oh, yeah. We fund or
World
help
War
support
II, Korea,
Vietnam,
Vietnam, and then after Vietnam, there was a small break, but they were still
Cold
doing.
War.
They were
we
doing the
had-
Contra fights. Well, the Cold War was just like an ongoing dispute, but like
Oh, yeah.
actual like war happening, like firing. And dude, it was literally like we had short times of peace. Like during Reagan's time, there were campaigns, but there weren't like wars. It wasn't until like Bush Senior, but that was a really small war. Like we went in there and just kind of showed like the Iraqi army didn't know what the fuck. I mean, it ended in 3 days. It was in 3 days, and Saddam was pulling his people out, and that's when they were lighting those massive oil refineries on fire. They're like,
When
oh,
was that?
during the 1990s, early 90s, when Saddam Hussein went into Kuwait to take over their oil. And Kuwait already had an agreement with the United States. I think it went way back, but you'll give us your oil for extremely cheap. You will only trade with U.S. dollars, and we will provide aid, and we will also defend you. So they didn't have a standing army. They don't really have it. They have police and stuff like that, but they don't have a standing army because the U.S. has always done it for them. And so nobody messed with them because the U.S. after World War II, and they realized that because they weren't like a global superpower like they were after, because they had these massive dude, they went crazy with building ships and weapons.
They
But
changed a lot.
But it changed the war because if the U.S. wouldn't have got involved in World War II, Hitler would have won.
I believe it. I believe that. I'm very curious to see. I'd be very interested to see what other countries World War II history textbooks kind of talk about. Because every country, I'm sure, has drastically different stuff that they produce around it. But I'd be interested to see kind of what, especially World War II.
Well, it was easier because on the European side, Germany moved so fast.
Oh, yeah. It was insanely quick.
Which was the Blitzkriegs. And what fueled the Blitzkriegs? Speed. Because they were giving
Cocaine.
methamphetamine tablets to the soldiers. They looked like Mentos. And they would pop them all the time. But then the crazy thing that happened after World War II is that after everybody went home and the Nazi soldiers are just German soldiers now, not Nazi soldiers, a lot of them started to kill themselves. 2 reasons. 1, realization of the shit that you were a part of. And 2, these guys were going home and having to just be normal. They were drug addicts.
Addicted to meth and then going back going, wait, now I'm supposed to be normal and not have this.
But it was genius on the German side because they gave these guys hopped up on meth and then they didn't sleep. They didn't need to eat. They just moved. They could get shot and they would still keep moving. They would fight relentlessly. Now you take other people because, all of these other neighboring countries didn't invest into massive armies. Like some of the biggest armies were like France and England. And dude, these countries, as big as they are in history, they're the size of fucking states here in the U.S.
Oh, yeah. Well, because you look at it, but they might have more people per square capita. It depends on the country, potentially, and the state.
Yeah, England's like...
Even like New York is crazy heavily populated, yet that is the
densely
size of
populated.
a pea in comparison. Like
that's why like India
it's like
has
a corner
billions.
of Utah,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we live like in a stretch that's probably the size of Manhattan.
Oh, yeah, but it's all the way down the entire state, and the state has tons of
land.
Desert.
Yeah, desert
and mountains.
Yeah, and lots of mountains. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, that's what you get. It's a massive state with not a lot of resources outside of the middle.
Yeah, you get a lot of water and everything
It's
right
a
down the
Tootsie
center.
Roll.
Yeah.
It's a Tootsie Pop, right? To get to the chewy nougat.
You know what's interesting? I was out hiking. We wandered up Big Cottonwood Canyon with Preston and Kaylee Sunday. And we were walking up there, and it was talking about just folding and forming of the rock formations, because it literally looks like the Earth's crust has like come up, and you can see the layers, and then it's like warped and stuff. And
yeah.
And it was just talking about how it was from the sea levels and just like the waves and stuff. And I'm like, it's crazy to think that this high up, like crazy high in the mountains here, was sea level. That when I go hike up Squaw Peak, I find seashells up along Squaw Peak.
Yeah.
That's way above all of the city.
Yeah.
All of the city. Like all of the valley. Yeah. Everyone and everything was just totally covered.
Well, I mean, at
some point in the last millions and hundreds of millions of years, like
or
billions
whenever,
and billions, like it goes through this. You can go up to the Utah Natural History Museum and they have the whole like timeline of when it was at certain stages and that. And I couldn't tell you exactly, but it's just really cool to see.
You can see that like within the Grand Canyon, the layers of sediment, those are going back.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So far, and people go, well, what is it, just dirt kind of pile up on there? Well, and that's some of the reasons why the idea, the flood hypothesis that, yeah, dude, it would move dirt, mud, why you're not going to find bones all together of that. I mean, it moves everywhere. Like we were talking about
like
that
the ocean floor, true.
Yeah,
because
it will never be the same. It'll always shift.
It would always be changing with that. And that's the crazy part. Like, we have no idea what past truly was with stuff.
Oh.
Things
it's like those,
that.
have you seen those underwater pyramids off the coast of Japan?
There's been some, I don't remember if it was off the coast of Japan, but there was some in some video that I had watched that were like underwater ones.
Yeah,
maybe
dude.
that is.
Yeah, these ones are crazy because like people go, oh no, those are natural formations. Like,
yeah,
because you look in Japan and they have stone that comes from, I think, either the Cyclopean period or the polygonal period, but these stones are stacked like they do in South America. The dry stack
that are
giant.
like perfectly fit and stuff. With,
But they're cut
and
weird.
they don't. They never shift. They
Nope.
never move. Like
Earthquake,
earthquakes
nothing.
and everything.
They've never moved. And they have this. They built it like a lot of their like castles, stuff like that. Some of them have these bases that are so ancient that before the Japanese were even there was somebody there. So that's the thing. It's like
it's just built upon an existing structure.
right. And I get the animosity when people are like, yeah, who would be excited about being a conquered people? But at the same
Aren't we
time,
all?
we are, well, we either are a part of the conquering or we have been conquered.
Yeah.
And Americans can say that later into the future. They could probably admit it then, but we were a conquering culture. We did it in a very clandestine way. Where I was talking with this other guy, and I was like, well, after World War II, we had bases all over the place.
You were talking to me about it, and you were like, oh, it's almost like the Roman Empire, because it was everywhere. And they had bases everywhere. And I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, no, that is kind of...
It's 100% the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Roman Empire would do. They would create more or less like a FOB, a forward operating base. And they would have this one, and they would have Roman soldiers and politicians and stuff like that run those areas. And they would just keep moving and expanding. That's why, like, after Rome fell comes the Dark Ages. And the reason why the Dark Ages is not because I used to think, I'm like, the Dark Ages, like, we just didn't know anything anymore. We just lost history. And there are some people that hypothesize that, we, because of one king, we're actually living in the 1700s, not in 2000. Like,
what?
Yeah, they just like got rid of 300 years. Oh, it's a crazy theory. There's a guy came up in the 80s. But anyways, when the Roman Empire fell, it was often said that Rome was the light of the world, because wherever Rome conquered, they brought civilization. They brought mathematics. They brought all this stuff. Like the Germanic people were very strong warrior culture, like super strong, like the Vikings. And they were conquered by the Romans because the Romans had better technology. They had better tactics. They had better medicines. They had better food.
God.
And during certain periods of time, they did really well. The citizens did really well of Rome. They were doing good. They didn't always go that way. Like when there was poverty, inflation's what took down Rome. That's the funny part. Like that's how Rome destroyed itself, was inflation.
It makes sense. It's a very simple way to destroy yourself. How do you come back?
And how you learned about their coins, and they saw their coins. And the crazy thing that they would do is that the reason why they knew inflation was still the same coin, but it was made with a cheaper metal. So you needed to use more of that metal, because I knew as a purveyor of goods that you only had half silvers.
Yeah.
So I need
twice as much to get the same value. Yep.
And so they were, the Roman government was just making these coins like crazy and giving them to the people. Yeah, printing money.
Yep.
And the same thing, the Chinese have done that. That was the whole...
So have we.
Well, dude, look at the coin.
That's what America's done.
The Chinese coin. You ever notice that little hole?
Yeah.
You know what
just make it bigger.
You know what it's for? So
maybe I learned when Grandma and Grandpa and we went over there, but I couldn't tell you.
So they used to use this string,
mm-hmm.
and guys who would sell anything, you paid in coin. And the reason why that circle was there is for these merchants to be able to hold more coin, and they would put it on the string around their body so they could hold more coin, because they could only put so much in a purse. Well, then they were like, well, this is ridiculous, because if you got a lot of money, it was going to be heavy as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this guy probably got like 5 or 6 of these things wrapped around him, right? And probably a purse or a bag. So it's just
a lot of weight.
It's a lot of weight.
Trying to wear chainmail, but it's all money.
So what do? They convert it into these promissory notes. These were some of the first these banks started to form, going, hey, you can bring your money here, because they had banks forever, but it was holding usually currency of metal. But this currency they started to write these slips of money on
IOUs.
it. Yeah, pretty much. And that's where mass money, because now I can have a stack of money. I could have lots and lots of money, and then I can go to the bank and exchange my paper for that. And that bank would take so much percentage off of everything, and that's how they would make them. That's how banks make their money anyways.
Yeah.
They take your money and then lend it. We know that, right?
Yeah, well, they use it in the time when you're not, and banks make ludicrous amounts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, people used to be afraid of go and get loans from banks. They're like, no, you should. That's how they make money. They are happy to give you a loan as long as you can come to them with something that is collateral. Going, hey, is it a house? Is it a business? What is it? Do you have a business? Like, I always thought it was weird. Like, I'm going to go to the bank and present my business plan to them. Yeah. Because they were like, we invest in a lot of things. And it's like this weird...
Well, you think about it, so...
It's a weird agreement.
It's like an investor. If I wanted to start something and I came to an investor, well, is an investor going to go, hey, I've got this idea. You should give me money. Oh, cool. Here's some money. No, I want to see how you're going to work that plan, how it's going to be like advantageous for both of us, and how I can see that my investment's going to be successful. That's literally all it is.
Yeah, and all you're taking is all those people that deposited their money into that bank, they're giving it to you. They give that to you, so they don't have any money.
Oh, no, it's not. It's pulled from other...
Oh, that's right.
So
right.
it's pulled from a whole... This is a whole nother hours and hours of conversation on that. But
that's how the paper money started to come around. But it always went back to coin.
Well, and when we pulled away from the Federal Reserve and away from the gold standard, that's changed a lot too.
And my hypothesis on the gold standard, why we were pulled off it, is not because we didn't have enough, is that we had none.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any.
Well, so when
Fort Knox doesn't have any.
When they pulled us off, was they also bankrupted the American citizens. So declaring bankruptcy on that was basically going, hey, we can't pay this. We don't have that money. I'm sorry.
Dude, it's so funny because it's just something that we've just grown up with, and we just know that it's just there. But back then,
and not realizing that every 70 years they keep declaring bankruptcy for our own country. It's all these things that it's kind of like people going, oh, Donald Trump's declared bankruptcy. Do you know how many times? Yeah. So has our country. So has tons of these really large businesses.
Every single...
It was I think Apple.
Yeah.
Apple had this, what was it, 128 million or something, some grant or something that they'd got for something, and they basically just were like, oh, hey, we weren't profitable on that, so we're declaring bankruptcy. We're just not going to pay that. So many companies do this that we look at and admire and go, oh.
Yeah. Declaring bankruptcy is legal magic.
Yep. Oh, sorry. My Monopoly game, I kind of screwed it up. I'd like to start over, please.
Can I get a new piece? I would like the dog.
I'd like a new board.
I had the top hat, but the dog
Let's see.
looks
I'm
better.
going to actually set up this new EIN for this business. We're going to... New social for my business. So let's just get new credit there. Okay, yeah, let's start. Past go $200, right? Okay, all right.
I need a loan now.
Literally every fucking company, so many of them do that. And yet as humans and that we stress because oh man, I'm not successful. But so many of humanity and society, we can follow the business structure because that's what business in America is built on. And if you do the exact same thing as a human, which you can design and do all that same stuff. If you do that, you're doing the exact same stuff, but in the same legal, lawful methods that exist under the 10,000 plus pages of tax code.
Well, dude, that's the thing. When you see these movies about, you ever seen The Social Network, the movie about Facebook?
I swear I have.
It's got Jesse Einsberg and got Andrew Garfield, the guy who played Spider-Man, the really good Spider-Man.
He's the guy in, I don't know if I did see that Spider-Man, but he's also in Under the Banner of Heaven.
Yeah, and he's also, have you ever seen that one where he plays the Medal of Honor recipient? I forgot his name.
I actually really like Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
He's a good actor.
He's a really good actor.
Yeah.
No, he's in this movie. I can't remember. Anyways, it's a World War II movie. He goes to join the army because he feels it's his godly duty, but he's not going to kill anybody. He will not carry a weapon. He was going to be a medic.
Okay.
But the army told him that he had to have a weapon. You cannot go out into the battlefield without a weapon.
Something, yeah.
So they were going to court-martial him. And his father had fought in the First World War in the army. And he had petitioned him saying, just let him fight. That's what he wants to do. And this is what he wants to do. So anyway, long story short, he gets to go to war, but he doesn't pick up
carry a weapon.
Well, he ended up, there was this battle I think it was in Japan. And these guys were completely slaughtered. These Marines or Army guys were slaughtered. And this guy saved 75 people
Holy shit.
that were thought that were dead. And he went out for, it was almost like 2 days of him nonstop going out there, dragging a guy, putting a
Pulling
rope
back.
around him, throwing him down a cliff, lowering him down, and then doing it over and over 75 times.
That's insane.
There's a movie about it, and they had this part where he pulled a dead body on top of him and buried the other soldier because these Japanese guys were going around. And they were
Killing, stabbing them, and
yeah, just make sure.
make sure they're dead. Yep.
And he'd get him off and he'd drag him out there. And I mean, dude, nobody
See, but
knew.
that feels like a hero
Dawes.
to me.
Something
like-
Dawes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were true. Like one of the, what's his name? Oh, he's got a funny name. There's a Medal of Honor recipient, dude. The guy's won it twice. When he was he was like the youngest Medal of Honor recipient. Dude, the guy, he's got like a crazy name, but his uniform is just littered with medals. And he during World War II alone took down a tank
That's impressive.
with his guys with grenades and
with
being
his guides.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, single-handedly.
Oh, shit.
And then held off other guys for them to come over there. He's all fucked up, shrapnel, bullets in him. He gets back, gets healed up, and goes right back. And wins another time. Like, you'd hear these guys that would truly put in these heroic things.
It was a different generation. It's
Oh, yeah. But you see that in the some of the special forces community. And I don't want to shit on them, but there's enough guys out there who shit all over their own. Fine, I don't want to get in that fight. I'm not in their ranks. I think they're badass, and I think it's cool. But not all of those guys are good people.
yeah.
They're fucking
But
psychopaths.
That's not shitting on all of them. That's shitting on
those
crazy
individuals.
people. But that's like a psychopath out and about anywhere.
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
matter if they're in special forces or if they're in McDonald's working in the drive-thru. Like,
Yeah,
it's
Jeffrey
just
Dahmer was probably a
fucking
very
psychopath.
nice neighbor.
Supposedly, like all the things, most of these people, when you learn, or Ted Bundy or whatever, you hear about them, they're like, oh, they're like charismatic and
Dude,
charming.
I met a
and like,
woman that dated Ted Bundy, but she had the wrong color hair.
How is she? Did that fuck
Said
with
he was
her?
not later on. It was
Yeah,
really
that's what I meant,
scary,
like-
but she had the wrong color hair, and she was just like, I worked with her at the state hospital, and maybe she didn't, but it was a good story either way.
Yeah.
But she fucking was like, he was really nice. He was super charismatic. He's very good looking. She's like, he just got your attention. And what he would do after that, like he would hit him with like a tire iron or something, or fucking choke him. And then he got really testy. That's how he got caught, was he bit one of them on the ass. So post-mortem, that was his marker, because they have such deep egos. These severe psychopaths are crazy. But he would bite the ass cheek. And they got it from dental. Like his dental work matched the bite marks.
That's crazy.
And dude, the first time he got caught, he escaped.
What?
Yeah, he was here in Utah for quite a while. He got a
Yeah.
degree in Utah.
Well, there's a cave up American Fort Canyon.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you can actually go to. It has bars supposedly on it.
Nuns Park was one where they found one of the victims.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I've been through there 1,002 times.
Oh yeah, dude. Made out with plenty of girls up there. But it's crazy, dude. It's like the amount of random history that you will find.
Everywhere.
Well, dude, like Utah, they have some of the largest petroglyphs.
Oh, we have some amazing ones.
And these are like ancient ones. These go way past the Native Americans.
Oh, yeah. Even down by like Lake Powell area.
Yeah,
has
you can see 'em.
tons. Yeah, we did when I was young.
Oh, dude,
and we would
when
go
it-
to Lake Powell. Some of them you have to dock in the lake because the stairs are literally in the cliffside and they're just built in. And so unless you swim there or take a boat, you're not getting up.
Right?
And so we would dock and climb up there and go see the homes, petroglyphs, all these crazy old, ancient, really incredible things that are just like
Oh, and it's
cool.
it's their world. They're just telling you about they weren't telling anybody about it. They were just like, it was so profound to them that they needed to draw it. And they had some really, there's a cave in France, one of the oldest ones that they found from the, I think it was around the Ice Age, where there was these beautiful drawings in this French cave of animals and wildlife and people. And it was a really well done. I remember this art class that I took in college, and she went into that.
Where in France?
I mean, I could find it. I'll get you the links.
I was like, I only went to Paris. I don't think I really went outside of Paris.
Oh no, this is out in the sticks. Like, not what people typically think of France. You know, because you think of France, you think of like the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, and the catacombs.
Because the catacombs would be crazy to see. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah. It was the craziest, coolest thing because it's literally for like miles. And the way they've designed it, it's all decorative. So there's like stacks of just like certain types of bones and then rows of skulls and then other stack, like all the way down. And it's just this whole entire area and it just keeps going.
That's fucking weird, dude.
It is the craziest thing. And it's like you take this stairway going down to get to it.
Right.
It's so cool, but like really creepy. And somewhere on my mom's hard drive, there's pictures that I have from France, but it was on that has been 20 years, you know, so all of those I don't have right now, but I have so many pictures from like down in the catacombs.
I wish I took better pictures. I just don't.
I didn't have a good phone back then because again, it was a long time ago, but I still took tons of photos because everywhere I went was so unique to me, like architecture, design, like really ancient stuff that we just don't see as much of around here. You know, just culture and society that America's a pretty new nation. So unless it is petroglyphs or something that exists, most of it's pretty new.
Okay, so recently, you know, when you're listening to this, it could be old, but there's this scientific debate about this new findings in the Giza Pyramid or across the Giza Plateau was where it is, and they did this pictures with
SAR technology.
Yeah, synthetic infrared, like it's to pick up the vibrations around things to show structures.
But they put out a huge, what would you call it, press release?
Yeah, they did
this discovery they had.
Yeah, these Japanese and Egyptian archaeologists had found they had done this test, and there's like people are like, oh my gosh, this makes sense, and it does make a lot of sense. And then there's other people going, well, you can't really see that. But one thing I wanted to think about, we talked about it yesterday, and a couple of people are like, yeah, this is not that. But if you think about the Longyu caves in China, so in China they found this place that they think is dated, like the earliest pots they could find there was 206 BC.
206 years?
No, 206 BC.
Yeah, 206 years BC.
Yeah.
BCE. Okay.
So when that came out, what caves they found were these massive caves that were completely flooded. And those pillars are probably 100, 200 feet tall. Now, the ones underneath the Giza Pyramid, you just have to keep it in perspective. It's 620 or 642 meters tall. So to put it in perspective,
is what they're saying from the scans.
Yeah, the cylinders. And
so they say there's 8 cylinders that go down.
Yeah, and they're hollow.
540 something
680
meters.
Yeah, so
all the way down with staircases or
something coiling
around them.
Staircases, or it could be like, I mean, it would probably be more likely a staircase of some kind.
Was what they were saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And what the pyramid is made out of, it can hold a lot of electric connectivity. So there's certain stone that can actually are good electric conduits.
Well, and we've already talked about it often that we think it potentially could be a battery, a power source, something.
Yeah, like a massive power source.
Like there's no actual real bodies in there's no real bodies, things like that.
There's never been a body.
There.
There's no writings.
No sarcophagi, like these types of things for it. So you're like, okay, well, if that's not actually found in here and all of these other things are designed that way, the thing that really, like, the only thing that made me curious about what they pulled from it. And when I saw the images of the scans, I'm like, I'm not really sure how they correlate that into that, but it's probably all technology and a lot of computer stuff that pulls that. But when I was looking at it, I'm like, I don't really see how that correlates. But the Bright Insight Jimmy guy was saying that was the only one. He was saying that type of SAR test that they were doing wouldn't be able to penetrate the water that's found only 50 meters down.
Which is
And
awesome that these people who will say that are not
Yeah.
experts on the product.
Yeah.
That's the funny
Well,
thing.
his came from something else. He was like, oh, through this, like this too.
No, and that's
So-
why I bring up the Longview Caves, because you know how that was found?
No.
It was this village that had endless pure drinking water constantly coming in. They didn't know where it was coming
yeah,
from.
but they weren't doing like a test to go through it.
No,
to
no.
do that.
But
So-
that's why I'm saying, like, they never knew where it came
yeah.
from. And when they uncovered it, they have no idea what dates this come from. They see specifically tool marks scooping that are not like chipping or anything like that. Smooth. Everything was there. They found places to live. They found artifacts in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that the artifacts that they found in there just dated around that time. Doesn't mean that's when it was good. Because the dating of the pyramid is usually done by carbon-14. So they'll say, oh, we found this wood near it. I was like,
No, I wasn't asking about the timing or dating.
no. But I was just going into that. But anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. I was just saying that's cool they found it from there, but that whole cave thing they didn't find through doing like an SAR type of test to detect it.
And that's not what I'm saying.
So that's all I was
it's
saying.
to keep an open mind about it, because you never know what's underneath.
It's true. We have no idea, but it was just more of like, it would be interesting if that is truly what's down there. But just looking at it going, I'm very curious as to why that was put out, if potentially the reality is that type of test cannot actually penetrate that. Then it'd be more of what actually is underneath. And if so, like, because we already know it's the whole thing of like, hey, this has been told that this was a crypt. Like, this was all these things. And now
I've never believed that as a kid. That seems
But then
retarded.
it's going like, okay, well, if that's not actually true, why would that other thing be presented? What else could this potentially have underneath? You know, because, yeah, maybe that's great. There's 8 cylinders with this, but maybe it's something way more intense or like way different down there that we didn't even think of. But that's all my thought was, is like, well, maybe that test truly doesn't show, or we don't have any idea what really is down there. But like you said, we don't know. We don't know truly what exists down there.
Before we really can even get into this, so they only released partial of the report. They have a 4-year. They have a 4-hour presentation that they're going to be doing with all of their findings.
Oh, that'd be cool. I'd love to see
they're
more
gonna
of what
put
they
that out.
talk about. Yeah.
The one thing I kept saying, like, I'm skeptical. I'm like, ooh, that's cool, but that's just a site, because there's like the Baltic Sea anomaly. You ever heard of that? It
You
looks
have to go
like
into it more.
it looks like the Millennium Falcon crashed underwater. And it's this shape that they're like, oh, maybe it's an alien thing or something like that. So it gets more pareidolia.
Like it's something on the ocean floor?
Yeah, they found it when they were looking for something, but it looked like it was man-made, that there was these stairs, or it looked like it could be like a ship of some kind. But it looks like the Millennium Falcon.
Okay.
And it's just stone as far as we can get close, but it's in a really bad place. So these people are immediately like, oh, you can see the drag marks underneath when we use this certain type of infrared. And again, we don't know. There's
speculation and it's theorizing, which is great.
Which isn't necessarily, you need to throw it out, but
No.
I think it's funny, like one side will be like, yep, knew it, aliens. And then the other side's like, yep, you guys are stupid. You know why? Because I read the Wikipedia about this specific thing that you guys are doing, and it says on Wikipedia that is open source. You can change it. It's just so funny how everybody wants to sit on something instead of being fucking crazy. Well, let's see what's down there. And the Egyptian government goes, no.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
That's the problem.
Egyptian government has nothing. They have dude, they are going bankrupt.
Might not find and let more people come in, charge them. I'm sure how many archaeological people would love to pay to go check out.
Oh, dude. And they've got it. They've got tons of it's their antiquity, because honestly I think is because they would find out that they've been lying about it. I think that a lot of their people
probably
know
find
about.
Stuff that they would be like, oh, this was here all along, because they're there.
Well, because they're proud Egyptian people. They're like, oh, well, my people built this. Like, I don't think so. Like, it just seems like pre-dynastic, pre-flood, because we don't we have all this information that goes back to the Sumerians, but that's it. And I'm supposed to believe that these guys were flinging poo and chasing things down and putting loincloths on.
The way that they talk about with like the Egyptians is it wasn't the Egyptians building it, it was the Jews. So then if the Jews were the ones building this and they're supposed to be this really not smart, intelligent thing, like they're the ones that they're saying built that?
Well, take this for example, and this was a good point that another YouTuber, I don't know his name, but it was a really good point. The guy's like, you're supposed to make me believe that these primitive ass people in Egypt, dynastic Egyptians, who they could see them try to make something like a pyramid and it didn't work out. Like it was good. It was it was
a great attempt for their
those
time.
pharaohs, yeah. But nothing compared to that one.
Yeah.
And like Khufu, like they were saying, like, yeah, he took credit for a lot of the stuff. Why not?
Oh yeah. Well, because history is written by the victors, and if you come in, look at this great thing that is here. Look what I did. Oh, look what I did. Look what my people have done. Look how incredible we are. Like they're not. It's always rewritten going, oh, look at what we've done here to make it seem more empowering, more incredible, more, look at what this is.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you quoted Napoleon there, and it's funny because it's the exact same thing. Like, I saw this whole crazy thing on Napoleon we had talked about earlier, and a dude from like a young age, I think he was like, he didn't even want to be in the military, but there was this big overturning during the Revolution. And when the King Louis and Marie Antoinette were murdered, they cut off their heads and they started killing a bunch of these people. There was something for the revolution that they were trying to be able to do. They wanted to make it free. They didn't want a monarchy anymore because America didn't have a monarchy.
Yeah.
They wanted a monarchy, but the government wouldn't allow it. So eventually they overthrew it, went crazy, and they had asked. They were going to do some type of military thing it was against the French government, and Napoleon was a soldier. He's like, yeah, I'll do it, but you got to let me lead it. And they're like, okay, because they thought they were going to die. He took this small unit and he just crushed them. He was just naturally gifted at war. And after that, he was like, cool. And they made it independent and they got rid of the king. And he was first consul. That's what he called himself, closest to like a president at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what? And then why did he go to war everywhere else? Like, I didn't understand why Napoleon, all of a sudden, he became the president. And he's like, yeah, let's go fucking conquer everybody else. Well, the different perspective that I learned was that all these other monarchies that were around him, Spain, England, all these other ones that were just
everywhere
circling,
yeah.
They're like, that's bad. Because if there's no longer a king there, that means we're going to be irrelevant. What happened to their kings?
Yeah.
So they attacked them.
Oh.
And Napoleon fucked them all up.
Interesting.
Pushed them out. And after they attacked him, he's like, I'm just going to start attacking you. And took over their land.
Well, because it's like, well, you're not going to stop, so I have to change this because you're a king and you're going to see me as a threat as long as this is here.
I just balled up like a fucking cat there. I don't know what happened. This weed is weird.
He's just all snuggled in the corner.
I know, dude. But no, dude, he just started going. That's how he got into Egypt. Because without Napoleon bringing his scientists with them and convincing, because he had to convince a kind of like a board at the time, which would have been like Congress later on. He had to convince them to go to war. But they didn't want to go to war. So he's like, oh, well, we're going to explore these things. But he went down to beat these other guys because he knew he could take them. And then he just started going up and then out. And then he just started kicking everybody's ass. The only reason why he lost in certain battles was because of...
Probably outnumbering.
No, it's food. It was supplies.
Okay.
His people were dying. They were getting sick. They were getting killed. Like, he tried to chase Russia, and that's what did him in. But
that's a whole nother cold front. That's
dude, like,
yeah.
The Afghan people, like, honestly, if we would have look, the U.S. would have won if they didn't have cameras. I'm gonna tell you that right now. If we didn't have cameras going all the time, we would have won that war like World War II, because the things that those guys had to do in World War II. You could never do that now. What they did in the Korean War, in the when they were doing it in Japan, they were using flamethrowers, and the reason why was because the Japanese were so strong-willed. They're like, nope.
They wouldn't stop.
They wouldn't give in. They would keep
It's
fighting.
a whole different type of culture.
Mentality,
yeah. Yeah, mindset.
And their government used their propaganda to scare the people. The reason why they fought us so hard is because they were telling their people that Americans are baby killers, that they're women killers, they're going to take all of your stuff. Like, they hit them hard. Like, if they did that type of propaganda now, like, Californians are coming into Utah. They're going to rape your women. They're going to steal your things. Oh, wait a minute. That's true. But anyways, no, just kidding. But you know what I mean? That's the fear that they would give them.
Yeah.
And so they fought so hard. And I remember hearing these like interviews with these like old codgers from World War II, and that did the flamethrower. The flamethrower, it got kicked out.
Whole different.
Oh, it's not
level of.
Well,
yeah.
You know,
I mean, the person behind it. Burning
dude,
a bullet.
Can you
and
hear?
If you're far enough away, it might be way different than burning every single person alive.
Dude, the for me in my head, you know what comes to that? Sizzle.
Yeah.
The sizzling of
the
flesh,
smell and
screaming.
Yeah.
Because it's not a quick.
No, that'd be horrendous.
But that these guys were doing that because these Japanese were so embedded that they wouldn't leave, like, you know, caves and pillboxes and stuff to defend themselves. They wouldn't give up. And they were just like, but the guys that were talking about it, like one of them, he was just like, he acted like it was no big deal and still didn't feel bad about it.
But that's some people who are more psychopathic, and
those people are built for war. There's like a guy named Sean Shrek McPhee. He calls himself Shrek. They call him the sheriff of Baghdad, Delta Force operator. He seems like he's full of shit, but people who know him are like, no, that's a scary dude. Like, he's not the guy's like, moral guy? Nope. Stand-up guy? Nope. Warrior? Yep. He's like, that guy is somebody, it's break in case of war. Break glass in case of war. Bring him out. Because he is, and there's just guys like that.
Yeah.
Like Richard Marcinko.
It's like the berserker, you know, and you pull them out and
they're built for
crazy.
war.
Yeah.
That's why like certain people are okay with it. It's like in your DNA, right? But dude, so much crazy shit has happened, and yet the only reason why we don't do as much, like you can say a lot of horrible things happen. We have no idea how horrible it used to be.
No, we don't. Yeah, well, we don't even know the horrible extent of everything anyway. Even what happens now, sometimes it's
we get more of it, and that's why they have to hide it more.
Technology.
And well, I think that's why we have so many conspiracies, because they just didn't hide it. Like, do you think the Roman Empire's like, we shouldn't kill people out in the open?
No, it's like, we're going to do a beheading, we're going to kill this, we're going to have this like Colosseum, and we're going to have people die and fight to the death, and like it's all. Well,
that's when they
things,
were going the most poor, like when the games would come up.
All of this stuff that you're like, okay, well, it's just different times.
But isn't that crazy? Like, I mean, during that time with Rome, I mean, it was more of like the state provided a lot more. So you know, money, they got exchanged through commerce. It was mostly commerce that was happening. Like the United States, it's just consumers.
Yeah.
And getting product from everywhere else. Yeah. Right? It's inevitable. Like, it just show it. Like, when a country or a nation becomes so focused on consumption that either machine or they have to be conquered themselves. Like, there's just no peace. There's nowhere in this world except maybe Sentinel Island. Have you heard of that place?
No.
You can't go there.
Why?
They have the oldest indigenous people alive on the
planet. And they're not used to anything else, and so going there would totally fuck with their civilization.
There was some type of Christian missionary that tried to go there, and he was immediately killed.
Yeah.
And anybody who's tried to like save people that have gone over there, like arrows in their like helicopters and stuff. Yeah. So,
and it's just, you don't go there.
You're not allowed to go there.
Nope.
If you try to go there, you'll be arrested and thrown in prison.
I believe that.
Because the Indian people are, is it Indian or I can't remember. Sure. Indonesian people, they're like, you could kill them.
Yeah. You could introduce bacteria, germs, things
they're prehistoric.
They're not around anything. So any small thing could wipe out their entire society.
Well, and before, a long time ago, when, you know, white men were on big ships just grabbing whatever they wanted, And it's not just yeah, it was predominantly. I mean, it's all of them, include. When they started going out, yeah, that was pretty bad. But anyways, like, oh fuck, I lost that. Damn it. Well, anyways,
Thanks, Dogfather.
yeah, Dogfather. Hey guys, pay attention next week. We've got another episode of Cannabis School, and we'll have another episode of the Sesh. So, pay attention.
Love you guys.
Take care.